On May 22nd, my daughter and her family were here, and I saw that the weather was getting bad.
I was helping a friend whose daughter was graduating from high school that day.
We just finished graduation ceremonies when I heard the tornado sirens.
We were at the Stained Glass Theater, which is just on the northern parking lot of St. John's.
My husband and son and I were actually driving home, and we actually almost ran into the tornado, square on.
I was in the crawl space in my home.
And I remember grabbing graduates and saying, "You must come inside." And one graduate said, "Well, my family, I need to be with my family." I said, "No, you must come inside."
The sirens went off, and my family and I went down in our basement.
My daughter normally calls and says, "Mom, I'm on my way home." And I was in the crawl space, got the phone call, and I said, "Don't," and I was going to say, "Don't leave," and the line went dead.
I just kind of watched these horrible clouds, and then I heard the noise, and I knew instantly that it was a tornado.
It was black, and debris was flying. I'm like, it's here, it's on us. We have no time.
I ran to my hallway, and I kind of just crouched down. And when I did, one of the bedroom doors flew open, and I saw that part of my house was gone. The beds that my grandchildren had slept in the night before were in the yard.
We had the most incredible pressure in our ears, our head, and our chest. And it was only there for a few seconds, but then the house exploded.
They said, a tornado just hit Joplin. And we said, "No, it didn't. We're right here. We're in Joplin." And they said, "Oh no, they don't know." And when I heard those words, and I still do today, I just had chills, because I thought, what could possibly be that bad?
Look, I mean, it's everything. It's just completely demolished. I mean, homes are destroyed, families' lives have been turned upside down at this point, and people are just looking for their loved ones.
The toll from the May 22nd tornado in Joplin resulted in 18,000 cars being destroyed, 7,000 residences, about 1,200 businesses, about 1,200 people were injured. And there are estimates that about 35 to 45% of Joplin was completely destroyed. I think the discrepancy about that is because the place where the tornado decided to rip through involved schools, churches, neighborhoods, hospitals, businesses.
When I walked into the hospital, it was a scene unlike I have ever seen before, and I hope never to see again, but it's something I could not have imagined in my worst nightmare. There were people that were critically, horrifically injured everywhere that you looked. Typically you will see patients back in the emergency department, but we had patients every square inch of the hospital.
It was overwhelming, absolutely overwhelming. When you think about losing everything you deal with, or your life, and losing things, those things like medicine that you have to have, your glasses and dentures and clothes and crutches and wheelchairs, it's huge.
And on that evening of May 22nd, I had 7,747 kids. I didn't know where they were. We had children in this community that lost family members. They lost pets. They may have lost their vehicle, as well as their school, as well as their home, as well as their church. Everything that they know was completely destroyed and wiped off the map.
Immediately after May 22nd, we had to make a realization, and it was a difficult realization for us, but we finally came to the conclusion that we were providers and survivors. We were battered and bruised as an organization, but we're a helping organization, and the community depends upon us to fight back and to do what we need to do.
One way organizations help the community following the EF5 tornado was to monitor the needs of those affected by the storm.
Healing Joplin is a FEMA-funded crisis counseling grant. We started canvassing immediately, going door to door, providing resources, emotional first aid, psychological first aid. We have community crisis workers who literally canvass every single square inch of Joplin, asking people how are they impacted, how are they coping, what are some unmet needs that we might be able to help you with, and how are you faring emotionally. Psychological first aid is just to be in the moment with the person at the time they're sharing their story in a safe, non-judgmental manner. You just help them hopefully move past. If they're feeling stuck, they're feeling blocked, you actually sit down and say, what's most uncomfortable for you and where would you like to see yourself?
One of the stories I'll never forget was one of our workers was visiting an elderly lady that he was concerned about. She seemed to be getting sadder and sadder. She was displaced from her home. He asked her, what could I do for you tomorrow that would just bring a smile to your face? And she said, you can bring me a sweet potato pie. And he took her a sweet potato pie. Now, if you're cautious about mental health, then you're more likely to ask for help from Sweet Potato Pie Guy than you are from a licensed therapist in a suit who's willing to help you. And both would do equally well for you, but the person you're going to trust the most is that person who's knocking on your door every day.
With a year of recovery behind them, the people of Joplin continue to feel the effects within the community.
Right now, we're hitting the hard time. A lot of the focus has gone away. Flag waving has died down, and people are tired. I look out of the windows where I'm working now, and I'm watching the hospital come down, and it's horrendous. It's very quiet, it's very solemn, it's very sad.
I think that's the key to why we're seeing some really difficult statistics to talk about. And those statistics include a 120% increase in child sexual trauma, an 80 to 100% increase in drug and alcohol use, not addiction, but use, a 40% increase in gambling, an increase in child abuse and neglect, an increase in adult sexual trauma, rape, criminal arrests are on the rise. These are all things that are common after a disaster of this magnitude, but very difficult for this community to accept and to deal with. Approaching the storm season is a real concern for all of us. It can't be helped. I have anxiety about storm season. It's one of those kinds of things where in a split second your world could change again, and it's frightening.
In addition to all of those who need help, those who provide help day after day eventually wear down and suffer from physical and mental fatigue.
Compassion fatigue comes from people who are helpers. The medical field, the emergency responder field, certainly the mental health field, and even some other people who are just helpers who like to volunteer, who like to do things for people.
My brother Kevin, a true genius, went to Joplin High School, graduated, went to medical school. He was the chief neurologist at Auctioner Hospital in New Orleans. People came from all over the world to see him because he was really their last hope. When Hurricane Katrina was coming in, they were allowed to evacuate, and they evacuated up north. and he went back to New Orleans right after the levees broke to help with health care. He didn't talk a lot about it, but I know he saw some really bad things. On October the 5th, a year after Hurricane Katrina hit, he committed suicide. Caregivers, on some level, think that they are above needing help. That's not their job. Their job is always to help others. Seeking help is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of bravery.
It comes from guilt, it comes from being tired, it comes from making very difficult choices. You want to be with your family, but you're helping someone else, and you start to learn to regret that. It's a very real thing, and it's very important that we pay attention to it.
The people of Joplin quickly realized that in order to rebuild, working together was a necessity.
The collaboration in this community has been phenomenal. In order to seek understanding, the first thing that has to happen is people have to be understood. You have to sit down together and collaborate and visit and talk about what that could be.
The power of collaboration here in this town has made such a huge difference in this community because we're all pulling together and making a better life, a better atmosphere, and providing that safety net and friendships. We're bonding with people that normally would not make us so comfortable.
In retrospect, our community has done things that I don't think any of us would have thought were humanly possible. The resilience of the Joplin citizens has been amazing. And the help that we have received from really all over the nation has just been incredible.
FEMA set up temporary housing for displaced Joplin residents, but in an isolated area several miles north of town. With little or no transportation, people were separated from the services they needed.
We met with nonprofit groups and every week sat around the table and said, how could we truly impact the community and help people recover and heal after this disaster? We decided that the Human Service Campus would be a way where we could all meet the needs of survivors on site.
It came to fruition to where we were able to have this collaboration of all these nonprofit and recovery agencies under one roof. The collaboration is, I want to say, about 30 different agencies. The overall goal is just helping the community and the survivors get back up on their feet, not give them a hand out, but a hand up.
1 year has helped the community heal. But some scars are permanent reminders of the tornado that changed their lives. This is who Joplin is now, a community that is rebuilding new foundations and coming together to make things better than before.
I think one of the best stories that I can tell is a young lady that is a cheerleader at one of our middle schools who was caught in the storm in the vehicle with her family. And after the storm blew over, she had found herself with a significant piece of flesh that had been ripped from her leg, from her upper thigh. She went through, obviously skin grafts and a lot of treatments over the summer. And on the night before school started, she laid out her clothes just like kids do. They get excited about that first day of school. What she laid out was a skirt, and the skirt was a very appropriate skirt, but it was not long enough to cover the scar, the massive scar that she had on her leg. And one of her family members indicated to her that she may want to consider, wearing something that covered the scar. And her comment, and I think this shows the real, the maturity and how our kids have responded. Her comment to that, to her family member's request to wear a longer skirt was, she said, "No, this is a part of who I am now."
And that's really who we are. Those characteristics, I think, have kind of kept with us, but I think we've come together in a champion way. I think groups that haven't worked together as well as they might have or as often as they might have are working together now.
We were always a compassionate community. We were always a community of neighbor helping neighbor. But this tragedy has forced us to come together more so now than ever before, because we can't do it alone.
If it was not for those collaborations, we never would have made it through this storm. Never. And because of that, we are going to be a far stronger community. And we're stronger individuals because of it too.